Welcome everyone to From My Experience podcast, the show where we start with lies.
What?
The show started with lies. Shout out to all of our listeners and followers on all platforms. We love you. Hope you have been taking care of yourself mentally, physically, financially, and
Sexually.
yes. I'm gonna get right into it, man. If you follow me, if you're a friend, you're an advocate, follower of the show, of my posts. I've been doing a little bit of accidental field research, and I came across something. I made a post in the middle of July, and I said, why aren't there more conversations about and between women about toxic women? I normally see men get dragged by women and other men, but the toxic women get none of that energy. So I began to pay more attention to posts in some of the singles groups that I'm in, looking at what men post, looking at what women post. My own group, just taking my own experiences, Instagram, things of that nature. And yeah, I compiled some thoughts. But before we get into it, peace, prayers, and blessings to my two co-hosts. Y'all please pray for them. My poor babies. My poor babies are under the weather. Biff, how are you?
I am hanging on by a thread, but yeah, July has been traumatizing as fuck.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just been traumatized. It's a lot stacked on top of a lot, stacked on top of more. So I'm just trying to make it day by day right now.
It's a strong thread, though, girl. You gonna make it. You gonna make it.
Nella B, how are you doing?
I am on the mend. So I
have no idea what that means.
I'm on the mend. I'm fixed. I am going
on the end.
Right. I'm on the end of it.
Why don't you just take the M off and just say end, man?
Because the mend is the correct word.
Ending. See,
So you say the mending of a movie, not the ending of a movie?
No, you're using it incorrectly.
Thank you, baby.
Toxic female trait number 1. This was a trap. This was a trap. Y'all always correcting somebody.
You corrected.
I was kidding.
And she defended me because she knew what was up.
No. I didn't correct you. I asked you a question because I didn't know what the word meant. See, that's another one. Toxic trait number 2. Ganging up on the brother. Look at that.
Use it right.
You know what, Biff? I see exactly what's about to happen, right?
Right.
We gonna get baited into all these traps.
No.
We gonna be wrong.
No. Those aren't toxic traits. Everybody does that. I'm glad y'all are here. I'm glad y'all are here to join me. So back to the origin story of what I just read to y'all. Why aren't there more conversations about and between women about toxic women? I normally see men get dragged by women and other men, but the toxic women get none of that energy. So I posted this in some of the singles groups I'm in. And I read some of the posts. Now, one group pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie. It got under my skin. It takes a lot to get under my skin, but they did. They deleted my post. I said, okay, cool. So I was reading some of the comments, and a lot of the women were saying, oh, we deal with so much, and usually it's triggered by a man, or some of them were like, yeah, females are trash too, or societal pressures. Nobody ever really took true accountability. Now, I don't know what women talk about in private because I'm not a woman. I don't know if y'all have these types of conversations amongst each other. But the group that deleted it, and this is why I have a problem. So, not even a problem. This is just why I started just paying more closer attention. This just happened today, what I'm about to tell y'all. So I noticed the group that deleted that post from me, a woman today posted this, which is an example of what I'm talking about. I don't know. Wait. What the heck is it? My precious research.
It didn't happen. See?
Nope, here it is. She said, same group that deleted my post, the way that I worded it, right? She said, do men come with consistency and honesty, or do I have to buy it separately like a warranty and stuff? So you can look. Don't laugh. Go ahead and laugh. I see you laughing. Don't hold it in. Don't hold it in. You try to hold it in. So you can say some funky ass shit like that in the group. Clearly, I know it may be satire or joking, but it's one of those things that I'm talking about. Toxic men. So it's okay for you to say that. But when I even mentioned, I didn't even name a trait. When I even mentioned the conversation about a toxic woman or toxic females, I get deleted. But you can make this post about men clearly bashing or joking, whatever, however you want to put it.
But hey, Biff, you gotta understand how some groups are ran and who is ran by.
Thank you, Biff. You made another point for me.
There's certain groups that always have like an itinerary of what's the word I'm looking for? Whatever their
agenda.
image. Yeah, their agenda, what they want to upheld and what they they post to delete. And especially singles groups, especially if it's somebody, people can be picky or they can take these groups like it's their life. And
you're right.
You really got to find you a group that's like actually open.
Mm-hmm. And I can tell you the conversations are being had, but there's a conversation, especially amongst Black women right now. About...
Let me pause you right quick. When I say these conversations, y'all, what I'm talking about is the public perception. Like even within movies and social media, I'm not talking about, this is for the audience, not for y'all. I'm not talking about personal conversations. I'm talking about what we see and what is displayed. But go ahead.
Absolutely. So I was gonna address those personal conversations because there's a conversation happening amongst Black women about fixing each other's crowns without letting the world know that it's crooked.
I'm fixing your crown, right?
So I'm getting girls together left and right in their inbox like, sis, you should have said that. However, there has been for far too long this following or this like movement to kind of trash talk men and then we don't get it back. But I think a lot of Black men are afraid to do it in public because there's a narrative that Black men don't support Black women.
You know what else
So for that to come from you, and I'd be interested, like Biff said, I'd be interested to know who runs that group. Is it a Black single woman who is like, ain't gonna be none of this Black men not supporting Black women type conversation?
I have to look. There's multiple admins, and that's all these groups. One of these groups is really big. I think that group has like maybe I don't remember how many people it has, but it's a lot. Like it's like close to 1,000 people. Matter of fact, let me look. It's a lot of people, but I will speak to what you just said. I'm in a lot of groups. Hold on.
Well, I got something to say though, Biff. I just looked on our group page, and when you said, and Biff mentioned that men need to be held accountable too. Let me not say nothing before they say that's toxic. Those young men. Well, I mean, it's a fucking cycle. That's what I was trying to get at. But see, they're so busy saying, you're pointing fingers. What about you? What about you? You dummy. It's a cycle.
Right.
That's why I said you cannot talk about female toxic traits without having to talk about what men have done. Just like you can't talk about male toxic traits because females support male toxic traits as well.
That's not true.
That is true.
What you say is not true.
It is true.
No. Listen. Let me finish. What is not true is you can't have those conversations without mentioning that, because part of the conversation that is not truly being had on both ends is accountability for oneself.
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying. It's a cycle. You can't keep pointing fingers. Y'all going back and forth. Nobody's going to win. So what can we do collectively to figure out what the fuck is so toxic, or why have we gotten to this point where we feel like we're too toxic for each other?
So let's start the conversation here and let's identify, Biff. We'll identify some of our toxic traits that we may have had or displayed.
I want to get this. Go ahead. I want to get this clear too. I didn't say anything about toxic traits in relation to relationships either.
Right.
We're just talking about toxic traits, and like you can even see the energy in this podcast is different just talking about this. Like, and I find that very interesting and very funny that this is so. And I get it. Black women have been through a ton of shit, and yes, Black men have treated Black women like shit, but Black men have also been treated like shit, and it's kind of like, well, you the nigga, so you don't say nothing. We've had these conversations about,
I don't think it's necessarily women saying you don't say nothing. I think Black men were conditioned not to say nothing, and that shit is passed down from generation to generation. You gonna ask the old head right now who got the damn 3 families and 18 kids and stuff, but what did he do? He shut the hell up. He didn't go blabbering about it. He didn't run around saying stuff about it, because that's what a man's gonna do. Just shut up and handle your business. And so that's passed down generation to generation. Sometimes you just need to shut up. And sometimes you need to talk. That's what we're figuring out. You need to communicate sometimes. You need to talk to somebody. You need to get it out. But because it's been conditioned as a black man, you have to be strong. You have to be stoic. You have to be big. You have to be built. You know, you cannot be emotionally weak or they're going to eat you alive. Like, it's being conditioned to the black man that you cannot be this way. And you have to uncondition yourself to stop assimilating to what people think you should be and just be what you are.
And part of that is healing, and healing is talking about it. And as we can see, it's not received well. Because I was deleted.
It's difficult to talk about.
Back to what you said about y'all's traits. I would love to hear this.
Because I will say that two of the things that Biff has mentioned have been my toxic trait. One, I talk too damn much. And I know that. Like, that's still, that is still one of my things, because I spend at least 4 to 6 hours a day now, because I work for myself. But I spend that amount of time listening to other people. So I don't want to hear what a lot of people have to say outside of when I'm being paid to listen, because I think that my point of view is important and it needs to get across. Or I have shut the fuck up when I really needed to talk. When I really needed to be heard, I didn't, speak up. Another thing for me is I'm very possessive in my friendships, and all my friends will tell you, no new friends. We ain't got no new friends. It's the 4 of us. That's it. And my line sisters. That's it. Y'all ain't allowed to have no other friends. So my man, he ain't got no new friends. I don't know this homegirl. Who the fuck is she? No, none of that exists. And I realize that that's toxic, and I'm working on me.
But does that make you a toxic woman or to make you a toxic person? It just so happens you are a woman.
It just so happens
because those same traits can be seen in the man as well.
See, you're deflecting by saying that. You're deflecting because you can say that about all the things that people say about males. I could say the same thing that chick posted about black men. I can say that to black women because I've experienced that. We're talking about women though. You keep dragging men into the conversation though. This is the 3rd time you've done it. This is what I'm talking about.
I don't want to say nothing anymore. I digress because you just need to let me speak my point.
I don't think they don't have to be mutually exclusive. Like, I get what you're saying. Like, so it's not a trait that's exclusive to women, but as a woman, automatically people are going to say that's toxic and she's a toxic woman. They're not going to say I'm a toxic person, because in a perfect world, I guess we would take gender out of it. But my question to you, Rob, is what do you want the conversation to be? Like, what type of conversation are you expecting people to have specifically about toxic traits in women?
You want women to be like, I do this, I do that, I'm toxic, I do this, and I do that. That's what he want to hear.
That's not true, but okay. You know me way better than that. But here's the conversation. I would like to see, like my man EJ said in the podcast group when I said I was going to talk about this, more accountability on their part. Even Jessica Mayer, shout out to Jessica, commented on this and said, basically to nutshell, because I don't feel like picking up my phone right now, she had to do some reflection of her own and realize that she has her own shit that she needs to work out. She's never really thought about it before. Now, this is somebody I don't want to put all her business out. We're in the same age bracket. So it took you this long to really look at yourself and say, you know what? Maybe I got some fucked up shit about me. Like, the acknowledgement just isn't there. And every time, or not every time, but a lot of times when it comes up, we have to go back to, well, a man. Like, I don't do that. I take responsibility for my shit. Like, we all know that who we are and the way we think come from experiences with people, places, and things. We know that. But where is my accountability in all this? When do I need to talk about me and things that are messed up about me that I need to fix without saying, well, yeah, I'm like this, but no, let me take the butt out. Rob, you're like this. Let me look at myself. All right, I'm like this. I need to change this about me. What can I do to change or fix this? I need to acknowledge it instead of deflecting or placing blame or continuing to look back. Maybe you need to do that deeper in the healing process, but the acknowledgement has to be there. Some people can't even say it. They don't want to say it. They don't even want to acknowledge the fact that, dang, something's messed up about me when it comes to toxic traits. And that's on both ends. It's men and women. But it's just when it comes to women, the conversation just hits so different. If the conversation can even be had.
So I will say, from a therapeutic standpoint,
Ooh.
what you're asking of people does take work, and it may take into this age bracket, because I'm 35, and honestly don't know if I've thought about it in the way that you pose the question until you pose the question. So what we know about language is that language shuts people down. When we talk with Christian and we are talking about issues, the daddy issues, it's that word issues that shuts people down, right? They're like, I don't want to talk about that. When you say toxic, people don't want to talk about that. So when we go back to Psychology 101, I believe we all had to take it. I think it was a core class.
Yuck.
But we talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The highest point is self-actualization. So that's when you really realize who you are. You start to identify that positive and negative. It's a shit ton of steps that comes before self-actualization. So some of the people that you may be having these conversations with are not ready to have that conversation, because shit, they at the bottom. They at basic needs. I'm trying to meet my basic needs. I ain't got time to sit around and think about what's toxic and what's not. But to Biff's point, when we think about trauma and toxicity, you do have to reach back into that family of origin. My grandmother to this day, in her 80s, will not go to Pennsylvania because she said, I don't want to run into one of Paul's women, right?
Wow.
That's toxic on both of their part. On my grandmother's part, for tolerating that and teaching her girls to tolerate that shit. And on my grandfather's part, for making it so his wife couldn't even go to a whole fucking state because she doesn't know who she will run into. So y'all are coming from, you and Biff are on the same coin, different sides, or let's say different ends of the spectrum. You want people to be at self-actualization, but Biff is saying, now let's talk about the shit that made them the way they are. And you honestly can't have one without the other. Men and women are just a duality and a reflection of, and so that's why I think there is an argument to not want to separate the two, but at some point there does have to come that acknowledgement.
So
walk out.
No, good points. You're exactly right, and that you're speaking to exactly what I'm talking about. It's like it's different for women than it is for men because of the way we look at it, and like you're saying, the actualization part coming so much later. I would think that any adult, when you go through something, depending on what it is, like when a relationship ends for me, I look back and the first thing I do is I self-reflect. Like, you did what you did. Okay, I'll think about that shit when I'm listening to my R&B and being sad and shit. But all right, let me really think about what I did and how I may have contributed to what happened. And I'm also open with talking about that. But it's like when it comes to women, it's like if you like, they don't want to talk about it. They don't, like, that's the thing. We can't even have the conversation. So we can't have the conversation. How are you ever going to get better?
Because you guys are super aggressive with it. You guys can't sit and have a regular conversation. You guys are so language. It's not what you say it, but how you say it. You guys' tone, men's tone comes out so brash, so hard. It's just like either you're going to automatically get it's like fight or flight. When you come at me defensively or you coming at me some type of way and you automatically point the fingers and not trying to communicate, I'm going to get defensive. I'm going to be like, back the fuck up, because you don't know my life experience. You don't know how men have affected me. You don't know why I keep saying I got issues because of men. You don't know that. And for you to point the finger and be like, yeah, you just toxic. You need to be accountable. You need to be accountable. I'm trying to be accountable, but being accountable means that it also means that I have to admit when somebody else causes issue. It wasn't me by myself.
So what happens when someone gets stuck in the mode of having one conversation and not the other? How do you ever get better? And who can you talk to?
Learn to communicate, but that's the thing. Find somebody that within that understands you and your language. Don't get on Facebook and get on Facebook groups and expect everybody in that Facebook group to understand where you're coming from or understand your tone of language.
So this is the thing
that talk to those
that
friends or a therapist. That's the point of therapists. That's the point of therapy.
So this is what I find funny though.
Oh.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I thought you was finished.
No, you go ahead.
This is what I find funny though. Some of the same people you're describing right now will post shit about men though, and talk about men all day. But if somebody says something to them, the firewall goes up.
So, yeah, just like on my timeline, I see men bashing women all the time, making jokes, this joke. And matter of fact, the perfect example, Meg Thee Stallion. Do you know how many, and I'm not gonna lie, I feel bad. I did participate in one joke. But do you know how many domestic violence jokes I've seen? How many men were just like, well, she deserved it, she big, she tall, she can defend herself, like stuff like that. Why would I even want to sit here and have a conversation with you when this black woman just got shot and you have no empathy, no sympathy, no nothing? So what makes you think, and I'm a regular person, what makes you think, I don't know, you're going to have empathy or sympathy for me?
I think that one of the things, again, when we talk about like language and like the words that we pick, we need to break down accountability and responsible. So accountability is the ability to take count, right? So to take count, boy, hush. To take count of your positive and negative. Responsible means that you are able to choose a response. Now, these things are empowering because, Biff, we can't give men our power. And we can't say that this man made me react in this way. We get to choose how we react.
Hold on, say that again, because your video kind of broke up. Say that again.
So we can't give men or anybody else our power. We can't say, oh, he made me act this way because he came at me this way. We get to choose the way we respond. So she's right in that nobody got your tone, or they may not have understood where you were coming from, but the way that they responded, they did get to choose. Now, right, wrong, or indifferent, I don't think that they should have deleted your post, because nobody, I mean, it's Facebook. Everybody has a fucking opinion. It's like assholes, right? Everybody has one. I don't think they should have deleted it. They should have let those who got it respond, and those who didn't ask questions. And I think that that's what Rob is saying, is that at the end of the day, we shut each other down because we say, well, this happened to me or that happened, and we get stuck on what happened instead of moving forward on the ground. So at the end of the day, Rob, if a woman says, yeah, I got toxic traits, then what? Because we all got fucking toxic traits.
Right.
So then what? So she's accountable. Now, how do you move forward?
I would just like to actually hear it. I would really like to hear someone, actually, a woman, because I have friends. I have a couple of homegirls.
You just want to hear her say, I'm toxic.
No, that's not. I didn't even finish my sentence. Toxic traits. See, cutting people off. I have a homegirl who's very upfront and very real. Like, when we talk, she says, I love her to death. She says, yeah, I know I shouldn't talk to him again, but I'm a dumbass. I love him. I just can't help it. I don't know what's wrong. Like, but she's being real, and I get that. She's like, I'm fucked up. I need to work on me. That is it's refreshing to hear, because I'm like, okay, I know that, but I know that this person is no, but the person, no, she's self. That shows me that she's self-aware though. Listen. Let me tell you why. It's
self-awareness is, oh my God, there's a thorn in my hand, and that shit hurts. I need to seek help to get it out. Not, man, I don't know why I leave this thorn in my hand, man. That's just me. I'm fucked up like that.
She knows why. I'm not gonna put her business out there. The conversation goes deeper, but it's just like, I've had very few females in my life. Even when I think about my homegirls who've had bad relationships and messed up relationships, and go through stuff, and I have a conversation with them, and I ask them about what happened, and they talk about the guy. I'm like, all right, well, what about you? Like, what happened on your end? And the answer is very vague. There's no meat on the bone. And it's like, so do you think you were like perfect in a relationship? Like, what's really good? Like, let's just have the conversation. I guess just listening to the two of you has explained a ton already. It's explained a ton. And obviously, I'm not going to blanket all women. Obviously, I mean a percentage. I mean, I'm not a scientist. I'd not go out and survey 50 million people. But it's very interesting. I guess it's not even that y'all don't want to talk about it. It's the way it's talked about and the way that it's dealt with. Y'all, it seems that a lot of women, well, not, I'm just gonna say some women, not a lot. I need to stop using that word a lot. It seems like some women are just hypersensitive. I can talk to someone just as calm as I am now, and they won't talk about it. They won't. They don't want. It's like it's the weirdest thing to me.
I want to have the conversation. I think for me, it's very hard for me to do things that I'm like, okay, and then what? Okay,
Yeah.
and then what happens? Because I know that I have exhibited toxic traits. I know that I probably still continue to have some toxic traits. But like you just said, I just want to hear you say it. So I've said it. And so how does that make you feel?
It's not. Stop saying I just want to hear you say it. Is beyond that. When someone can basically, I said more than that. Jeez, you're gonna have to listen back to this episode. You picking pieces. It's not just about you saying it. It makes a difference when someone acknowledges something. It makes a difference. It just makes a difference, and it sends a signal. It sends a message. It lets you know what page that person is on. It gives you a realistic glimpse of what page that person is on. Because obviously, I know my homegirls don't think that they're perfect. I know you don't think that about yourself.
I do.
What are you really thinking? Like, what are you really thinking? Because it's funny because another male toxic trait. We always like to say we're not mind readers. Tell us what's going on. This is part of that. This is part of that conversation.
And that's not toxic though. But that's not toxic. That is true. But I teach my clients.
It's not toxic. You're right.
I teach my clients that sometimes they have to learn to move forward with the apology that they will never get. So I have clients who their mother chose men over them, or they've been sexually abused, or they've been in a bad relationship, and they will never get the apology that they want. And I'm not telling you that you may have to move on. Nope, I lied. I'm telling you, you might have to move on, and because that's a part of accountability, right? Like, even when I get into an argument with my husband today, I'm like, you were wrong. You know you wrong. I could call 6 of his friends who all be like, yes, EV, you was wrong. And he was like, I'm not going to fucking apologize. So what do? Throw away the rest of our marriage because he refuses to apologize? I got to move forward. I have to go on without the apology, even though I think that I am owed that apology. And now I do kind of wish he was in here because I guess we'd have another male perspective you won't be getting beat up on. But, I mean, sometimes you just got to move forward. And I have done the work on me. I'm looking right now at a pH scale. And it's got acid all the way over here, which we're going to call toxic. And then it's got alkaline. I ain't alkaline, but I ain't acid no more. You know what I mean? I'm moving forward. So what else you want me to do?
And I don't think a toxic, because we all have quote unquote toxic traits. I need to find a synonym. But it's not about you being a toxic person. It's just about the traits, our shortcomings, whatever you want to call them. I just find it hilarious. Just looking, I just really been observing because I have a shit ton of time on my hands, more than I would like actually. And I've just really been looking. And I mean, another big part of it is who you're following, what you're taking in, and what you're actually looking at. And it's just, I just follow mostly women. I do have dudes that I follow and people that I talk to, but even in my personal conversations, it's very funny to me. It's very interesting the way the conversations are had or not had or just circumvented completely. It's just very interesting. But y'all have definitely painted a clear picture for me. Hopefully some of the male listeners out there and female listeners out there have taken some of this stuff in. But I think we all have to, at times, even anytime, stop and look in the mirror and say, all right, what's going on with me? What's really good? Because I can sit down and have a conversation about my traits or what I think I could do better and stuff like that, and have a full-blown conversation about it. If she want to know where it came from, I'll give her that. But I don't lead with that because, like you said, I know that I have a choice. I get to be who I want to be, how I want to be. Do I have to fight through some shit to get there? Of course I do. But at the end of the day, it's still my decision. It's still my decision. And I just wish more people would come to that realization, because I just think too many people in general, not even gender specific, too many people in general lean on what had happened. Okay, if you know that this happened and this led to this behavior and this is not a good behavior or a behavior that has caused you issues or problems, time to seek out a solution.
But what if they
live
don't
there.
recognize that though? This is the whole thing. Like, I ain't ever fucking heard of daddy issues until I got to college. Like,
Right.
I
Well,
didn't realize the psychological take that a father has on a daughter being there, not being there. You know, all those different scenarios and shit.
I think it's
That shit.
when you learn about it, like you said, we were talking with Christian, and Christian was talking about daddy issues, and she was talking about a girl who had a dad who was very encouraging, very empowering, but the girl couldn't take criticism very well because she was so used to the positivity. And I was like, oh shit, my dad was like that. My dad was kind of like that with me, and I was like, now that I realize it, I took a step back and I said, I wonder if I'm like that. I wonder if I'm not the best at taking criticism. And I've been told that in the past. It's something I've already worked on, but I linked it. I was like, oh, because I've been told you make me feel like I can't talk to you, or you kind of shut conversations down. And I listened to that and I'm like, maybe I do that. But it's not that I'm shutting you down. I just rather not argue. So most of the time I'm just quiet, or I'll just say, okay, let's just do it your way. I don't feel a way about it, but I just don't. I'm not going to talk to you about, do I want waffles or pancakes for 30 minutes.
I don't feel like giving you the energy. Yeah, that's a waste of energy.
But I'm like,
waffles.
Yeah, it's fluffy waffles
anyway. Yeah.
I'm
glad we're on the same page.
Yeah, it's real hard because, I mean, it is a sensitive subject, and again, I think it's word choice, because toxic implies to me that you are intentionally being hurtful in your actions.
I'm gonna repost it and I'm gonna use a synonym for toxic and see if it gets deleted.
Because
you can't say that now.
They ain't listening. They ain't let me promote in their group yet, but they will.
It's just like, even sitting in this conversation, I'm realizing, you know what? I'm a very defensive person, and I know that I put my husband through that. But it's because 9 times out of 10, I think I know what's best for me. And even though he has my best interest in heart, it makes me feel like a kid. I'm like, dude,
I can do it by myself.
I am not one of the children. Right. I'm a big girl. Like, I can do this by myself. And so I think there's a lot of things that maybe people don't realize. I will give you this, Rob, when they do realize it, yes, they should do something, but I don't know that everybody knows what to do. It's that question of, okay, I know this, and now what? And now what do I do?
And you froze and you're blinking. You said they don't know what to do and what?
Sorry. So it's like, once they identify that, it's like, well, what do you do with it? A lot of people don't know, well, I can go to counseling, or I can go to a group, or, yeah, exactly. They're just like, okay.
You know what I'm going to tell y'all? When you find that out, Google it. You'll get an answer. I'm serious. I'm serious, yo. You will get answers. You will seriously get answers. Me, I have conversations. I talk to the people, kind of like what Biff said. I talk to the people I'm closest to, and I say, hey, do I come off like, because when you have a real friend, you're used to each other, you're used to each other's traits, so you don't really see them as toxic or good or bad. You just attribute it to who they are. But then when you ask them about it, they can give you greater detail, because it's like, I'm so used to you being like this. Yeah, you do come off like this. Like, I have a friend I play Xbox with, and we have a different type of conversation when it's just me and him in the party, because he says that people have told him he comes off a certain type of way. And he asked me, he was like, do you think I come off such and such? And I was like, no, I don't see that.
Have I played with this friend before?
No, you haven't. And I was like, nah, you don't come off such and such way. He was like, you sure, man? Because, you can tell me. I'm like, nah, dog. Like, this is how I see you. This is how I view you. I understand how you are as a person. So this is blah, blah, blah. He was like, okay, I just, I don't ever want to be that person. Yeah. So it's just about, back to my original point. Like, you gotta be willing to talk to people about it, because it's like you said, once you figure something out, if you don't ever talk about it or dig deeper, it's gonna stay there.
And one thing is, make sure that it is actual a toxic trait you possess, and not what somebody is projecting onto you.
That is correct. That is
I
correct.
I realized and didn't realize till, later in my adult life, I definitely take projection in what people were saying and thought that was me, when it wasn't me. That was just somebody's projection of you. So not only, you have to recognize your own faults and your own traits and everything, but just make sure that nobody else is trying to project or give you more than what you already have, because they don't like, the way you did something or the way you said something. Just because we, have no argument on Facebook don't mean, she's toxic, she's this, she's that. Like, that doesn't mean you're toxic just because you got into it with whoever in the group. They're just saying whatever to get you riled up and to troll you. I mean, be careful with not self-projection. Just be careful with projection from others.
That's extremely important what you just said. I've definitely had people say things to me and try to project stuff onto me, and I laugh it off.
You're like, that's you.
Yeah, I laugh it off, and I'm like, or you just feel away because you can't get what you want from me. So I'm like, okay, if I'm this bad, then why are you still here? Why are you in my life?
And I'm sticking with, like, making sure that you, like you said, Rob, when you know somebody, you can also speak their language. Like, my brother is very militant Black, and his message gets lost because he doesn't speak my language. But, like, when I relate with my husband, we discovered the reason he wants to be a director is because he directs everything in life. Like, he likes to have things done the way he likes to do it. But when I presented it to him, like, it's not a toxic thing. It came off as toxic to me at first, but it's not a toxic thing. It's the way that he does life. And he needs to realize that he's doing this because it can come off toxic to other people. So knowing someone's language and the way that they speak, the way that they move, helps you to better convey that message to them too.
You're correct. So let's talk about some toxic traits. Like you really just said, when people hear the word or see the word toxic, they think about something negative or something intentional, right? The intentional, what do y'all think some intentional things that women do that's not talked about enough?
The low-key possessiveness.
Yeah.
Women are extremely possessive, and women are jealous, but that's just because we've been conditioned to be like, whatever you have is yours, and you better make sure it's yours because it's double the women, and if another woman come by, she gonna take your shit, so you better make sure your shit on, that mini conditioning that you get as a child. Like, be careful, always that Disney princess mentality they try to instill in you. Like, when you grow up, make sure you get your husband, or even if you got something, well, if it's not a husband, make sure it's a piece of something, just to say you got something. Like, just at all costs, make sure you have something. So women, I've noticed women will go further to make sure that they have something to call their own, whether it's toxic or not. Most of the time, if they go into that length, it's probably toxic. But yeah, that's one of the biggest ones I've seen. Like the jealousy, the possessiveness. Like, this is mine. That I believe that's one of our, as a community, I feel like that's one of our toxic traits. I see it far more in women than I do see in men.
Yeah, I think like an unwillingness to hear other viewpoints sometimes is definitely something that can be perceived as toxic.
I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence with that one, because I've had partners I felt like didn't listen.
Yeah, and this, like, so I think, again, I just think it's hard to think of toxic traits that are
specific traits. Yeah.
Because I didn't think of something toxic that's exclusively a man. I can't.
No, I'm not. I didn't say anything. I didn't say it couldn't be a male trait too. I'm just talking about women. That's all. I'm listening. I'm just sitting here listening. I'm trying to let y'all have.
What do you think? Because you obviously have experienced this far more than we have. So what do you think?
But see, that's what I'm talking about. How everything like intersectionalizes. Like, you can't necessarily have one without the other. How can you separate a trait to a gender? Like.
So
I'm just saying, the only thing I can do based off experience is what I've seen mostly. I can't say this is fact true. I can't say these are facts.
Right.
Just based on my experience, that's what I feel like some women are.
So,
and I feel like because that jealousy and possessiveness, I honestly feel like that's the top two. That's what drives women to do toxic shit.
So here let me go back to wording like I said. So y'all actually just really drove the point home. We what's the word? We assign, I guess society assigns these traits. Like when you talk about men and we say these things about men, like you all just said, the roads intersect. Like that woman just said, whatever she posted in that group about, do men come with blah blah blah. But if I were to post that and say that about women, it would be received completely different. But we all know that that is true of women too. That's what I mean when I say it's just not talked about. Because if I would have even commented underneath that and said, well, what about the women? I would have got probably 1,000 messages. I wouldn't have got no LOLs.
But is that your perception or is that something you know to be true? Because I mean, I would test that. Because I've seen those same posts about women.
I know it to be true because I posted things just to see during this time period. I've commented on certain things just to see what would happen and to see the response I would get, and they're just vastly different. You definitely have some people that overlap, but a majority is like left, right, and it's just like, that's interesting. It's cool and comfortable and okay and easy for us to laugh and joke and talk about this, but when the gender switches, same subject, but when the gender switches, it becomes serious. It becomes an attack. It becomes something that we need to take away. No, you can't even have this posted here. I just find that very, very interesting.
I just feel like that is a societal thing, though. Like in the whole construct of patriarchy and gender norms, that is what you get because men are supposed to be able to take it and women are supposed to be protected. I didn't make those rules. Those rules were in place before I got here. Do I necessarily agree with that? No, because once women started to fight for equality, those are the things that should have also been kind of pushed to the side, right? Women, it's equal opportunity. Just like the reason I like the show Family Guy, they pick on everybody. They pick on Black people, gay people, Jewish people, the able-bodied, the disabled. Everybody can get it.
Yeah.
That's how it should be as far as like gender and these so-called traits. But the fact of the matter is, it's not. And no woman put that in place. No woman put that in place. That came from men.
Men.
So the issue that you are trying to convey here is a very real issue, but it can't be talked about, not because women said it can't be talked about, because that is the way that it was set up in a patriarchal society where men are in control.
All right, y'all made
white men
appear weak. Well,
white men.
Well,
let's be clear.
I'll give
no,
but
see,
even on the hierarchy, even on the hierarchy, and I'm sorry, Biff, because you about to say what I was gonna say, so go right ahead.
Because men are the white men of our community. They are the highest on the hierarchy, and they know it. And sometimes we are treated like that. Black women are at the bottom. We are Black and we are women. There is no way we can compete. And then it's like, you're a man, so you have a step ahead. You have a step ahead of us. And then it's like, we gave you the chance to lead, and y'all set it up wrong. So do I really trust your opinion? Do I really trust how you set it up?
Because even if it is white man, it's the society we got to play in. So regardless.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give every woman that's listening some insight. This is I'm gonna listen to this a few times. What y'all just said is some of the most complex shit I've ever heard in my life. And I'm not saying that it's not true. I'm not saying that it's not true. But I find it funny that when it comes to this conversation, that y'all refer all the way back to the origin instead of looking at present day. Because instead of looking at present day and saying, how can I do this differently? Fuck the origin. I know the origin. The origin created it. The origin created it. But if it's something that I feel needs to change or could be different, how can I be a voice of change? Because I mean, if I took the same approach that y'all are taking with a lot of stuff in my life, things would be very different.
Move forward unless you acknowledge what happened in
right.
But that's the thing. We keep acknowledging. I think we're over.
On women the same way you pick on men.
No, what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying.
I feel that way.
We've continuously acknowledged the past. Acknowledged. Okay, it's acknowledged. What's next? Like, it's acknowledged already. Like, we know this.
We asked you. Okay,
so
we admit our faults. What's next?
And so we've also
no, it's not about admitting. It's having the conversation. There's a difference.
I said acknowledge. I didn't say admit.
We're having it.
We're not having it though.
But I don't feel like women are exempt from anything. I don't.
Nobody is. You're right. Nobody is.
At the end of the day, the person you need to have this conversation with. So I see a part 2 coming. You need to email the admin of the group and say, why was my post taken down? Can I have a conversation with you on our podcast? Because
she told me why it was taken down. She gave me an answer. She said because the last time someone posted something similar, it caused an uproar and there was a lot of arguing and it turned into a woman bashing thing, is what she said, or a bashing conversation is what she said. And I could see how that could happen, but it was funny.
Censorship. And that goes against the First Amendment rights and all of what Facebook was founded on, right? Is the
at the same
opportunity
time,
to share your opinion.
Group.
Exactly.
Her group. She has that
so
right.
We can, right. So right here, right now, I think that there's no way to have a conversation unless we acknowledge these things. And your blatant disregard for these things, in my opinion, is a fucking mansplain. It is yet again a man saying, no, I want you to focus on what I want you to focus on. And I'm saying to you, well, we can't. Like, that doesn't logically make sense, because if we're going to talk about today, we do need to also talk about what's set today in motion.
How do we get here?
Okay. I'm gonna give you an example. I'm gonna tell y'all what y'all sound like. Y'all are really reminding me of some of the conversations.
Exactly.
No. I'm gonna break it down for you, because I hear what y'all are saying and I acknowledge what y'all are saying, and I'm not saying that y'all are wrong. We're just talking about two different versions of the conversation. So I'm just gonna give a surface level answer, and I'm gonna use myself. If I go to a restaurant, if I order a pizza, and I eat the pizza and I realize that I don't like the taste or the flavor of this tomato sauce, when I go to the register or I go to the counter, I say, hey, what's going on with this tomato sauce? It tastes kind of funky. Well, we actually get our tomatoes from Rome. We used to get them from here, but since they come from Rome, they're seasoned this way. I don't care about that. Okay, they came from Rome. What are we going to do? I don't like this sauce is nasty. What are we going to do? Okay, we acknowledge where the pizza sauce came from. It came from Rome. Okay. There's a funky taste that's associated with this. What are we going? We got to fix this, bro. Like, this ain't.
But I ain't customer service, boo. So that person should refund you your money or get you another slice of pizza. At the end of the day, I'm
glad you said that.
Women have toxic traits. So do men. So if I take ownership for my toxic trait and you take ownership for your toxic trait, then you and I can grow together. But that ain't gonna say shit about me and the next man or the next woman to handle their shit. At the end of the day, if you're not dealing with somebody who ain't handled their shit, you still gonna get the same shit. So what? You have to be able to move on with your life. Because you can't be like, oh man, she's still toxic. Move the fuck on. That ain't your person. Period.
Where's the customer service? That's the new question. That's what I'm going to start saying to people. That's what I'm going to start saying.
But Biff, you saying you hated it, but what if the next customer behind you loved it? What if they're like, oh, I like these new
This the best fucking pizza sauce I done ever. I love this pizza sauce.
What if that's 1 out of 1,000?
Okay. What if you're 1 out of 1,000?
So
if I'm 1 out of 1,000, I'm glad you used that. So that obviously means maybe it's just me. But what we're talking about right now, we know for a fact that it's not. We've already acknowledged what this is. So the point you're trying to make with it doesn't really fit the scenario.
No,
because we know what it is. We've already talked about the origins, but yet again, when we just try to have a regular conversation, we can't ever get past it. I feel the defense. I feel the wall up. I feel it. I see it. But it's interesting.
You're
But
attacking us looking for a specific
I'm
answer
not attacking
in a
you.
specific way. Yes, you are.
No, I'm not looking for you to have the answer because I know y'all don't have the answer. Just because if I don't have the answer either. Because if I did have the answer, we wouldn't have this conversation.
I think you see
Nobody
it. I think you
this
see
conversation.
it because you expected it. Because I'm not defensive at all. There are 1,000 other sex therapists, right? And if somebody comes to me today and they're like, I don't like the way Jessica does therapy, I will gladly say, okay, well, let's sit down and let's talk about what other things could possibly fit your needs. So if you encounter a toxic woman or a group of toxic women, then that is not your group, whether they have worked on themselves or not. And that's okay. You ain't gonna be for everybody, Rob. I love you, but you ain't gonna be for everybody. It's somebody out there who like, I don't fuck with Rob. But does that mean you don't have to be Rob? That you now you got to change everything about you? Because what you see as toxic, somebody else is saying is alkaline. One man's trash is another man's treasure. So at the end of the day, I think this boils on to move the fuck on. If you go to that restaurant and they don't want to change their pizza sauce or they don't want to give you your money back, guess what? You got Pizza Hut, you got Papa John's, you got whatever the fuck else. Move on. You ain't gonna change everybody. And that's what it works out to. I can't wait to see the comments on this. But
yeah, I know what they're gonna say.
The He-Man Women's Hater Club always come out when Brad makes certain posts. But when it be other posts, let's talk about this stuff. You don't never see them niggas ever. But as soon as it's something about toxic women, they come out and they with their tiki torches, they belts, and they yeah, let's get them.
I just thought of like Beauty and the Beast when they went.
Yo,
this you know how they ran up on Beast's house looking for Belle. That's how they be in the group. Soon as I promise you, soon as I make a post, right? Anything about a post about toxic femininity. Ooh, yes, toxic.
It's funny, and you're right, and it's because of what we're talking about now. They never get an opportunity to talk about it. Nobody says anything about it, and it's funny that you said earlier that men put that out there that we can't talk about this, and conversations like this are the reason why we can't find. There's never. It's men would just rather some men, not all men. Just listening to some of my friends who are married or who have been married or who are deep in relationships, no matter how simple you try to make it or how easy you try to make it or how much you try to get your point across, you run out of energy and you just get tired and you just like, you know what? This person is going to hear it the way that we've all dealt with this person. This person's going to hear it the way they want to hear it. They're going to listen to respond instead of listening for intake, because everything doesn't even require a response. Sometimes I just listen. I'm like, I'm going to take that into consideration. I don't need to answer you. That is funny to me. This has been very enlightening.
And so you keep saying that, and what I'm going to make an assumption, and you can correct me, but I feel like what you gathered from us today, and I can't speak for Biff, is that we are defensive. I think that is a toxic trait of a lot of people, men and women, confusing passion for defensiveness. Because I'm definitely not defensive about it, but I am passionate about everyone being perceived in the way that they'd like to be received by people, but then acknowledging that sometimes that's not going to happen for them, right? Like, I don't want to be seen as defensive right now, but I get that if that is your experience, that's the way you're experiencing.
It's not, but go ahead. I'm gonna tell you when you finish.
Then that's gonna be the way you see it. But what I want for you and every other man who's like, man, it's all these toxic bitches out here. Rob never said bitch, I said it. But for those people, I just want y'all to be confident and comfortable enough to be like, that ain't my chick then. Like, that's not my group of people. Because some people aren't going to be willing to change. And exactly like what you just said, some people are going to listen to you solely to respond. Ooh, this nigga said that. I can't wait to jump on that shit. Like, hurry up, nigga, so I can say what you said 15 minutes ago because I'm not hearing you right now. But at the end of the day, who cares? That's not your person. And I know that I'm working on it because I just told my counselor, when my husband says this, I hear that. And she's like, well, you need to stop.
Oh my God, you just said it.
You need to stop and think about, what does he know about you that has caused him to say this? And I am doing that. So I'm working on me. But everybody ain't there. Okay? Everybody ain't there, Rob.
There's a lot of that. And then the defensiveness is not what I brought from this conversation. We're far more different than I realized. Because I've had situations where I've said something innocently to my ex-girlfriend. I mean, something as simple as, dang it, I can't remember exactly what I said. I said something I'm talking about, it's something as simple as me saying, oh baby, I got the ketchup for you. Well, I don't need you to get the ketchup. I can get it myself. Like, just a 180. And it goes back to what you just said of, when he says something, he says this, but you hear that type deal. And wow, I need to write that down somewhere, because if I think back on a lot of the conversations and things that I've said to people, and I've said what I said and meant it the way I meant it, and the way they interpreted, they decided that they wanted to hear what they wanted to hear, has been very interesting. And a lot of women do that. My brother does that. Mm-hmm. Like, my brother does that a lot. I'll say something to him. Well, no, I said what I meant. I didn't mean anything else. This is that's why I said what I said. I'm very literal.
Here's a therapy jewel for free, guys.
Hold on, let me record this. I am recording it.
If you think that is going to happen, you should say whatever it is that you have to say, and then look at the person and say, now, just for clarity's sake, what did you hear me say? Now, if the person is not doing the work on themselves, yes, that can absolutely go left. But you kind of put the onus on you, and you say, I want to make sure that you heard me the way I intended to be. So can you tell me what you heard me say? And essentially, you're going to have them reflect back to you what you said. So, can I get the ketchup for you, babe? Or I got the ketchup for you, babe. What did you hear me say? I heard you say I can't get my own damn ketchup. Like, I'm not. No. What I said is I would like to help you to get the ketchup, because I'm over here by the ketchup. I'm going to grab it for you. That's what I want to happen. So sometimes you need to know that that person heard you, and you can ask, now, what did you hear me say? That happens a lot in my house because I don't often hear the way he meant to say it. So ask, and then we can make sure we on the same page.
I ain't doing all that. All right. No, I'm serious. I'm not doing all that. I'm really not. Maybe if that becomes a thing. I've never had that really be a thing. Toxic. That is toxic. Oh my God. I'm done. Do y'all have anything else?
My phone's about to die.
I see a part 2 though. I gotta
have some more men on here. And I have someone in mind in particular, actually.
Don't bring no He-Man woman hater. Bring somebody that's level-headed.
I'm gonna bring somebody y'all don't even know this person. I gotta bring him on here, and it's gonna be hilarious. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, self-love is important. Acceptance is important. Acknowledgement is important. And remember that you have a choice. You always have a choice. It's not always the easiest choice, but you have choices. Take advantage of them when you can. Work on you. Love you.
Mm-hmm. Sexually.
That's it. So you already know, FME podcast1@gmail.com. FME_podcast on Instagram. From My Experience Podcast on Facebook.
Yup.
What's up, man? What is that on his face? Oh.
It's a tribal sticker.
I thought it was tribal.
It's not. It's just a sticker. But anywho, I have nothing else to say. All of what Rob said, and then add sexually. And you can find me at Envision Counseling on Instagram and Facebook.
Love you so
much. All right, you guys. Stay black, stay proud, stay you, stay down, and we will catch you next week.
Holla.
Peace.